Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is gonna be a battle report between Sylvan Elves and Kingdom of Equitaine. It's a practice game for the Bloodstorm tournament, which I will unfortunately not be able to attend, but a lot of other people will, so they will definitely have a lot of fun there. Now this is a bit of a special event because normally with 9 days you're allowed to put a lot of banner enchantments, weapon enchantments, armor enchantments, manifestations, other types of upgrades, runic items, I don't know. All kinds of stuff on your characters and units. In this event you're not allowed to take any of those. And also the rules pack is geared towards treasure hunting, so then you can find these type of items during your games. So the first game you can find up to 3, second game you can find another 3, and the last game you could find another 3. Any items that you gain during the event you can put on any character or champion that you have in your army, and then they can use it for the rest of the tournament, which can lead to some interesting combinations maybe. So for this tournament I was planning to run my recent made 3 fathers, which is why I have now the current Sylvan Elf list that I put together. I just put it together quite quickly, so it's definitely not an optimized list. That's also a bit the idea of Bloodstorm, I think, or at least it plays much more into the fun aspect of the event, with not a lot of people bringing highly optimized lists. So this is my list. My opponent's list is going to be Kingdom of Equitaine. I think the only upgrade that is allowed in Kingdom of Equitaine is Sainted. So yeah, this is just a list of different knights. I don't know if I copied the Ordo Sergeants twice by accident or if he actually had 2 units of those. But yeah, this is the list that my opponent brought, and then we'll go to the pictures. So for deployment we have the encircle, and my opponent chose to get the flanks. Yeah, he did have the 2 units of Ordo Sergeants. I was just for 1 second thinking that he might not have had the 2 units. So we have encircle, I have the middle, my opponent took the flanks, and this is after his vanguard move. So for him, left to right, he has the Knight Penitence, he has 2 units of Order Sergeants, he has the Ladies Courtier, then the Questing Knights with the Damsel in there, the Mounted Yeoman, and he has the Knights of the Realm. I don't know if they're still called Knights of the Realm. And then here on the far right, he still has another unit of Penitent Knights. From me left to right, I have a 3-man. I have some Sylvan Archers all the way off the picture. I have my Blade Dancers, my other 3-men, more Archers in the back, Wild Huntsman in the field, then the Forest Guard, and another 3-man. We have a bit of ruins over here that the 3-man is covering. So I did check my angles to not allow my opponent to get out of my line of sight during his first turn. So if he wants to, he can come and fight the 3-man. That is perfectly fine with me. The middle one here is the 3-man Ancient, by the way. Then we have the markers that we can pick up. So these are 3 treasure tokens that we could pick up. There's one here, there's one over here, and one just off screen over here. At the end of the game, if you have one of them, I believe you score 3 points. If you have 2 of them, you score 2 additional points, so 5 total. And then if you have all 3 of them at the end, you get 7 points. In addition, at the end of this game, the table will be divided up in quarters, and then for every quarter where you have more scoring than your opponent, you get 1 point. And there was one last rule, that if you destroy either the most expensive unit or the most numerous unit in terms of models of your opponent, I believe, then you get another 1 objective point. So with that, we don't do any victory point counting. So all of your units are basically equally sacrificial, except for the ones that matter a bit to you. But also, if your opponent destroys your biggest unit, you don't get any downside yourself. So other than not having the unit anymore. So we have some extra pictures here. So this is the deployment pic. So you can see still how I arranged my battery loadout on my 3-man with the LED in there. So it has an LED in the head, and then the battery goes into the base. And then this was after my Dread Elf, or my Sylvan Elf turn 1. So here you can see also the remaining token behind the 3-man. So my opponent does move up a little bit with his knights, basically getting into the threat zone of being able to charge on me. The human does some kind of chaffing move, and then the realm knights on the right, they also come forward a bit. I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, probably my 3-man can take a charge of these knights, right? If they don't have any very interesting characters in there, then that might be just fine. So I'm just trying to play the long game. We're both playing Druidism, so the shooting is not going to be as effective as against some other armies maybe, but yeah, every knight down is another one. So I do try to play for the long game, and then my opponent's next turn he pushes up quite aggressively with his knights up to the wall, where he will get distracting if I charge in, and otherwise I had a charge here on his knights that could not get away, so he decided to chaff me with his mounted human. Basically the middle of the field is just being zoned by my my wild huntsman. And then, yeah, for the later stages of the game, I was planning to pick up the token with my spear elves over here. My opponent still has the penitents that are coming around the corner. But yeah, this is it. The Lady Scorche has taken quite an aggressive stance. I don't really have an answer to this model in this army other than to just block it with a 3-man. But the 3-man are not really mobile enough to stop a model like this. Here we have a close-up of the 3-man mounted human standoff. And then we go into my turn. So the 3-man does charge the mounted human. They flee up till here, more or less. The wild huntsman fail their frenzy check and they push them off further off the board. Otherwise, I do block the line of sight of my opponent's Corche with the 3-man over here, so that it cannot charge anything else but the 3-man. And then I move away the other 3-man all the way to the flank, and I strangle root his knight from the flank, and they actually take so many casualties that they have to take a panic test, they flee, and they end up over here. So that was quite okay for me, I would say. I also put the blade dancers in a position where my opponent could charge them with the knights, trying to tempt them out. I think these are the order sergeants, and then these are knights of the quest. So I'm outside of the line of sight of the knights of the quest. I'm inside of the order sergeant's line of sight. If they want to, they can come into the blade dancers. Then he doesn't do that. He goes around to my blade dancers instead. I think I misjudged how far cavalry can move if you set it up like in this previous picture. If you look at it now, it kind of makes sense that you can just pivot and move away and then march away with these guys. But I wasn't really expecting this move, to be honest. I'm not so used to Kingdom of Equitaine myself. Or, yeah, I'm just not so used to the mobility. Here you can see that the Knights Penitent are coming over on the flank. I try to just shoot them down. I don't really manage. We get a little bit of a cycle of me fleeing with a unit of archers, rallying with the other one, and then but this just continues basically. Here I do charge the knights that were rallied this turn with my 3-man, just to try and force a terror check and maybe even be able to charge the knights in the back. I do charge, and then my opponent fails his panic check on the Knights of the Quest, and they actually end up just running through the forest just at the edge of the deployment. Knights of the Realm are still just the feudal knights, that's it. Are just running away from the tree basically. But basically for my opponent this is not a bad thing, because he has a scoring unit that's in that table quarter for the end of the turn of the game. And yeah, nothing's really happening over there. And then we go to the next one. So this is where the Knights of the Quest have fled. I think maybe first they fled somewhere and then I charged them again with a Wild Huntsman. That could be just to try and push them further off the table. I just didn't make it because I think they failed their frenzy again, but I'm not sure. My opponent's Lady's Coach looks at this and goes like, "Oh, a flank of Wild Huntsman. That's interesting." And I didn't realize that this was actually a problem. So he goes in there all the way on the left. By the way, I have still some archers that are battling it out with some Knights Penitent. My 3-man here came back from the from being off picture. He's gonna go later clean up the penitents over there, and yeah, this is otherwise what is happening. Then one picture later, the Lady Coche has gone through the Wild Huntsman. These knights are coming back. Basically, that means that my 3-man has to come back. I'm ready to pick up the token next turn. I'm gonna try and still take a unit with my Blade Dances. I think the Knights of the Quest are out of the game now, but basically we can divide up the scoring now between us. The only problem I still have are the Knight Penitents here that keep bugging me. So at this point, one 3-man is just off the table, just doing his own stuff, tree stuff. And I just move up my 3-man Ancient aggressively because I was like, let's just see what happens if he just slams in an entire brick of knights into a 3-man like that. The Blade Dancers, they clean up the Order Sergeants without taking any casualties, I believe. It's just insane how much combat power comes out of that. Then the Penitents, they managed to push me even further, but I'm ready to pick up the treasure token over there. Next turn I have this one. So in terms of treasure tokens, I'm doing quite okay, I would say. Now my opponent's turn, he charges in, he goes for a setup for a charge onto the Blade Dancers next turn with the Coche. And this is basically the board state. So I'm looking at this, he didn't move his field charge yet. So the field charge is going to end up over here more or less. And then my tree did stick, so that was quite positive for me. And then I was looking at this and I went like, well, what can I do? I can either try to flank this unit of knights and hope that they fail their steadfast test, which would mean that I have to knock out the character probably, then get them to discipline 7, I believe, and then they have to fail that test. Is the extra 3 gonna make a difference? I don't know. He's not doing any damage to me. If I do a crash attack and I do make some wounds on his character, then he's gonna lose anyway, and it's gonna be on discipline 7 anyway. So there's no added value in getting the other 3 in, I think. So then I might as well charge the 3 onto the Resplendent, or the Knights Penitent over here, together with the Spears, to try and break those. And that is basically what's going to happen. Here we have a close-up still of the Feudal Knights onto my tree with the BSB of my opponent. Yeah, it's an impressive looking picture. It's I like Bretonnian Knights, just the aesthetic of them. And then this picture here, I did make it with my long charges. It was not too long, but it was like an 8 and the Spears was a long one. That was like an 11 or something. Then my opponent did clean up the Blade Dancers with his Lady's Coach. But I do manage to pick up the treasure token here and here. And I think this is the last picture. My opponent did break with the Feudal Knights against my tree, because I did manage to kill the BSB with my crush attack, and he did fail the test. And then, yeah, basically this is gonna be the end of the game, because this was my equalizing turn, so these are fleeing. In the end, we tally up the points in the sense that my opponent has the table quarter here in the back, I have the table quarter over here, I have the table quarter over here, because I do manage to take out the penitents. And then in terms of treasures, I have 2 treasures, my opponent sadly has none, which brings us to a 7-1 for the Sylvan Elves. it was mostly just an enjoyable game, really. Yeah, I think both me and my opponent had good fun. We had some moments where, well, I'm not used to playing this army at all, and my opponent, he's been a Kingdom of Equitaine player or a Bretonnian player for many years, but he didn't play for the last 3 years or something. So he had to get back into the game also again. What would I have done differently? I could have played more aggressively with the Blade Dances. Wild Huntsman I completely misplayed, I feel, but also this unit of 8. I don't know about 8, maybe 5 is better in a list like this. I would change, like if I would start to play this at tournaments, I would definitely change some things in the list. Yeah, but play-wise, I think first turn was fine with this guy going over there. Wild Huntsman could have just gone away from the middle and just refocus on the left side. I didn't need them there, but I think I passed my frenzy test over here, so I could just have relocated them. There was no need to do the standoff, because the tree anyway grinds out these guys, I guess. Unless my opponent gets lucky on the charge and he just breaks my tree and I die. Could be. But otherwise I should be fine there. Yeah, I think that's going to be my main consideration. I should have just removed the Wild Huntsman from the center and moved them to the left. But I was also quite afraid of what my opponent might still be able to do. It's like if you play a new army, then it's quite difficult to see where the risks are and where the risks are that you can take. Yeah, anyway, with that, thank you for watching. I'll just end on this marvelous picture. Thank you for watching, and I will see you the next time.